Looking back at those primitive humans hundreds of years ago, it seems that we are superior in every way. Or are we? Historians are digging up evidence that indicates some ancient humans had their affairs together in ways modern humanity can still barely manage. There is no doubt that ancient people possessed highly advanced knowledge in a number of areas, in which we shall list these ancient technologies that were far ahead of their time.
Starting with the magical Roman Technicolor Cup.
This amazing artifact clearly shows that our ancestors were far ahead of their time. In fact, they were so advanced that they even may be the inventors of what we today call nanotechnology. This extraordinary cup is the only surviving complete example made from dichroic glass, which changes color when held up to the light. When light is shown through the body of the cup, it turns from an opaque green to a glowing translucent red. The glass contains tiny amounts of colloidal gold and silver, which gives it these unusual optical properties. Another good example revealing our ancestors were familiar with nanotechnology are the strange, microscopically small nanospirals with a material that has to be at least 100,000 years old, which was detected in several places during a routine investigation of mineral deposits in the Ural Mountains in 1992. The origin of these extraordinary but strange artifacts that the human eye can barely see is still not explained.
Viking Compasses.
Over 1,000 years ago, in open, hand-built wooden ships, equipped with massive, hand-loomed seals, the Vikings navigated the extremely challenging waters of the North Atlantic. While voyaging on the seas, how did the Vikings know where they were going? According to sagas from the Viking era, the Viking used whales, swells, birds, the stars, and the wind as clues to aid in navigation. The Norse sagas mention a mysterious sunstone, a magical stone which showed sailors' road when the sun disappeared. Now researchers say that the stone is real, and it's a special crystal. One of the reasons why the existence of the sunstone has long been disputed is because they are contained in the saga of Saint Olaf, a tale with magical events. However, this has changed, and now sunstones can no longer be considered just a myth. Archaeologists are discovering a special crystal that suggests legendary Viking sunstones did actually exist. It is believed that Vikings used so-called sunstones as a compass to find their way in Arctic waters. Researchers suggest that the sunstone could have been held up towards the center of the sky, which allowed the sunlight to hit and get polarized and broken into an ordinary and an extraordinary beam.
Ancient metal plating.
We know that people of the Middle Ages and earlier had the ability to coat materials with thin films of metal like gold and silver. In fact, their methods function even better than the ones we use today. We still haven't caught up to the Middle Ages, but it gets better. The Iron Pillar is a column in the Qutb complex of Delhi. It was built around 400 AD and enjoys thoroughly mocking archaeologists because it is 1,600 years old and it has not corroded yet. Compare that to your 1994 Ford Fiesta and you might start to see what an accomplishment that truly is. Studies of the Iron Pillar show that the composition is unusually high in phosphorus, which seems to have shielded the metal underneath from the ravages of nature. It basically nurtures a thin film of harmless rust that's a metallic Stockholm syndrome and fights off deeper, more damaging rust. And it turns out that's not an accident. Earlier iron works are lacking the phosphorus, while several later structures were forged in the same fashion. That's right, the ancient Indians bought the undercoating, and it's still paying off a millennia later.
Greeks' programmable robots.
If you're looking for evidence of time travel, you really cannot do better than Heron of Alexandria. He was responsible for the first steam engine, as well as automatic doors, and even a robot show back in the 1st century, but those weren't even his most impressive feats. Researchers now credit him for the first programmable robot. It might seem silly to call what the Heron built a robot, considering it was a 3-wheeled cart powered by a string instead of electricity. But by using a system of timed weights and pulleys, the thing could move by itself, turn corners, and hopefully even sass some nearby humans. Despite its crudeness, computer scientists say that it is basically the way that all robots operate. It's just the Heron's strings of code were literal strings. The heroine didn't do much with it, besides entertain the masses and hopefully get a little strange with it now and then, at least as far as we know. But hey, maybe we're stuck in some kind of ancient Greek matrix right now, and the world we think we know is just an elaborate knitting project designed to keep us docile.
Batteries in the ancient world.
A small, undecorated artifact with a rather plain appearance is believed by some scientists to be an example of a prehistorical electrical power source. It's the so-called Baghdad battery, also known as the Parthian battery. The artifact, thought to be a 2,000-year-old battery, was found in 1936 by a railroad worker in the area of Tel Kajut Rabu, which is south of Baghdad. Most sources date the battery to around 200 BC, but the first known electrical battery, the voltaic pile, was not invented by Italian physicist Alessandro Volta until 1799. The bottoms of the mysterious cylinders were capped with copper discs and sealed with bitumen or asphalt. Another insulating layer of bitumen sealed the tops of the pots and held in iron rods suspended in the center of the copper cylinders. The rods show a strong evidence of having been corroded by an acid solution that evaporated long ago. The ancient batteries found in the Baghdad Museum's basement and elsewhere in Iraq date back to the Parthian period of the Persian occupation, circa 250 BC to 650 AD. The Parthians were known as skilled warriors but definitely not regarded for their scientific achievements. Where did they acquire their knowledge to assemble the object, and how did it work? It would appear that they then inherited these batteries from one of the earliest known civilizations.